Hello everybody and welcome to another Patreon video. Let me just hit play here so that you can see something interesting while I talk. So this video for this month, we're gonna be doing a recreation of one of the scenes of this very popular video by TBD Studio run, or not TBD Studio, this is Creative Studio run by Sekani Solomon. And yeah, it's a very beautiful video. He did do a little bit of a breakdown on Maxon a while ago, but I actually started preparing for this recreation a few months ago, where I did the animation of the little section here, this one with the cube. That little section is what we're going to try to recreate today. So I did the animation for that a few months ago, but I haven't really had time to jump in and work on the look. So today we're gonna do, it's gonna be like a two-part video. The first one is gonna be just a little breakdown of the animation. I'm not gonna do it from the start because it's actually pretty simple. But then the look, materials, and lighting we're gonna do together live. So you'll see me problem solve anything that comes across and anything like that. Overall, I think it's yeah, just a good exercise. There's a lot of like subsurface scattering here and really nice animations that we are going to do. So, and yeah, I haven't done a recreate video in a while, so I thought it was a good opportunity to do that. So let me exit out of here, and yeah, again, this is what we're gonna try to recreate. I already have the animation, so let's jump into Cinema 4D and take a look at that. Okay, so as you can see here, maybe I can try to play this together. Nope, that's not gonna work. Anyways, you saw the animation, so you can see here I'm only focusing on this section here of the bridge and the cube coming down, not really focusing on anything else after that. So it's gonna be a quick one, hopefully. All right, so the animation for this was fairly simple. Let me go ahead and actually, I'm going to organize this just a little bit so that it's not so crazy. Come on, cinema. There we go. Favorites. I have this null here that I like to use. So we're gonna throw the camera into the cameras here and delete this camera. We're gonna call this a cam. And the reason why you probably have seen in my other videos that I like to name my cameras with a letter in the beginning, A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth. It's because when I do that with the letter in the beginning, if I start to run Redshift here, they come up at the top of the list here, which is a lot easier than trying to hunt down for, if I make a new camera, for example, it's called Redshift camera. And if I wanted to switch to that, you can see that it's buried beneath, in between everything here. So by keeping A, B, C, or D, I can actually I can just hover over the list or click, and it's readily available here. Or I can hover over the list and use my scroll wheel here on my tablet. And you can see that the first one is A cam. And if you know, it's very easy to switch between all of those. So just a small tip there. Okay, so let me do a little bit of housekeeping here. So we have, this looks like it's the cube, and actually it's version up, and this looks like it's the bridge, right? And this goes here, bridge, and then this also part of the bridge. So obviously everything here is MoGraph related. Let me enable this over here, and for filters, geo only. So if you're new here on Patreon, or actually this, I'm starting to use my whole screen here for my videos, just because it's a lot easier to actually use my working layout. As you can see here, this is my working layout for anything and everything that has to do with Cinema 4D and Redshift. And I like to have a second viewer here on the screen where I have the camera, the active camera, always looking through it. So that allows me to use this big viewer here to do whatever I need to do, but then I have a separate one on the left here where I'm always looking through the camera. So yeah, just a little recap in case you haven't seen my videos before, and you can position yourself in my screen. The camera is always going to be here, and I have my working viewport in this section here. So everything here is made with MoGraph, obviously. And let's go over the cube. I'm going to solo this here, or actually I got it wrong. So this is the bridge. So that means that these three go here. And then this is the cube. So let's go over the cube first. Pretty simple, just one little cube in there. And then I threw that inside a MoGraph cloner set to grid. And then the cube is 50 centimeters in X, Y, and Z. And then obviously the grid is 51, just to have a little bit more a little bit of separation there in between them. Actually, we can probably make these a little bit tighter. 50.5, holding control enter, or actually that didn't work, but 50.5, 50.5. So just making it a little bit tighter. And it looks like this out of the gate. Pretty basic stuff. And then I'm throwing a bevel deformer. On top of that, I'm actually not sure why was I doing a bevel instead of simply doing a fillet here. Let me check. The bevel here was for 1 centimeters, so it's 2.8. You see what's the difference. And remember, I made this many months ago, so I'm actually not sure what the difference is. So this looks like that, and this looks exactly the same. So I think I'm gonna leave it there, but let's do it with the fillet here. So the fillet is applied to every single clone, and then I have a random effector here with all of the position, scale, rotation disabled, but then I'm using the fields color here. And honestly, this doesn't really have to be a random field. I usually use a plane effector, name it color, and then let's throw the random field in there. Let's go to the effector parameters and disable all of that, and then apply that to the cube, and it's the exact same thing. So either or works. I'm not sure why I used a random effector back then, but what I'm doing here is simply using the random field with the remapping. I have a gradient here for the colors, and actually let me pull up the reference. So yeah, it's a little bit of different hues or tones of orange and yellow. So that's this is gonna be our base for this effect. And under the remapping here, I have everything set to default, and yeah, just doing a little bit of color, the gradient with the no interpolation there. So that's the cube. I have everything under a null object, and then the null object, I believe, is what's animated. And no, I actually animated the cloner. So for the animation, let me put this here. For the animation, and let me pull my timeline. The animation is pretty simple. I just have animation on the position X and the position Y. Obviously, if we look here through my camera on the left, the cube is falling very quickly from off the screen, and we can actually probably up this a little bit. Let me zoom in here so that it's coming from off screen. And yeah, it's doing that very rapid movement. You can see that my My keyframes here are the if I enable or disable the velocity, you can see that this is falling very rapidly, and there's practically um, no easing. If we check here, it's the way that it was made, because it needs to fall to the ground and then produce this pulse on the bridge. So it needs to fall very, very rapidly, and that's what I'm doing here. I like to enable the velocity sometimes, because if I it's very easy for me to see if I have a little bit of easing and I'm not really looking at this, then I don't really know how fast this thing is going. And you can see there that kind of works, but I think with the going by the reference, there's literally no easing at the end of this cube. So that's the cube. And then let me unsolo here, and let's talk about the bridge. So if I disable all of this here and go to the bridge here, there we go. The bridge is made pretty simple. It's also a grid with two layers, as you can see here, and the cubes are a little bit smaller than the 50 centimeters. So these are 30 centimeters, and I'm just gonna leave it as I had it. I also used a bevel deformer there to bevel this just a tiny bit. As you can see here from the reference, they have a little bit of beveling. And if we look into the effectors, we have the first one. Let me organize this the same. So put the random effector at the end and maybe put the bevel after. So the random effector is set to scale and uniform scale. That is simply doing that. And I am using a shader field. You could see there, if I go into the fields and disable that, you can see how this would affect the whole thing without any without any masking. So I need to do some masking, as you can see here, or actually let me uh, play it back here. As you can see here, there's a little bit of different sizes there. So I'm using a shader field, and if we go inside the shader, I can show you the noise that I'm using. So I up the scale pretty big, and everything else seems like I left default, and that is giving me some randomization here in the size that is very, very interesting. And then we have the bridge reveal, which is the first plane effector that reveals all of the clones as they come down. And obviously this is simply set to scale and uniform scale of -1. And then I'm using a spherical field that I'm animating as soon as the cube hits the position of the bridge. The spherical field comes out and reveals the clones. And I also have a little bit of a random, because without the random, you can see here that it looks pretty simple. So that's the first layer of the spherical field, simply revealing the cubes, and then a random field on top set to overlay. And I believe this random field, I'm simply leaving everything as default. It's a pretty simple trick to just add a little bit of organic animation or look to your animations, and you can see the effect that that's making. It's just helping it break out the pattern a little bit. But the real hero here is the pulse. As you can see here, I simply duplicated my reveal, right? And I'm using a spherical field that is, spherical field pulse, so that we can see this in the timeline reveal. And if I show you my timeline, we can see here that I have the two spherical fields, and the reveal happens just a little bit before the pulse. And I can show you um, the curves. So for the reveal, and they are exactly the same, They just happen. The pulse is just offset by a frame or two. So we have that, and you can see that if I activate it, so this bridge pulse in the parameters, I'm simply um, affecting the Y position. So I am moving the clones in the Y position here, and they are being affected only where the spherical pulse or the spherical field is happening. So if I probably let's remap this to something that's a little bit easier to see. Yeah, green can work. If I remap this to green, you can see that our bridge is revealing, and immediately we are um, bringing some of those clones up in Y, and then bringing them back to their position, as you can see there. I also have a random field, of course, to break up the pattern a little bit. And then I am using a quantize here of 3 steps so that it feels a little bit more mechanical, like it feels here in the reference. You can see that it feels it's very fast paced, so that also helps that we are limiting the amount of steps. Let's take a look without the delay and the quantize, and I'm going to look through the camera here. You can see that it looks good, but I feel like it needs to feel a little bit more mechanical, like in the reference. So if I enable my quantize, you see how they don't, like, if they feel like they are going down in a more mechanical way, and then adding the delay effector on top then really like calms that down, because without the delay effector, hopefully you can see this through the recording, they, because obviously we're using the quantize, we're limiting the amount of steps, so we're basically posterizing the animation, but then adding the delay on top, yeah, so we are taking away some of the steps, but then adding the delay, smoothing out that position on the bridge animation. And that's really all that is. I'm actually trying to think here. Okay, yeah, because here's something that I wanted to show you. If I set this contour mode to none, obviously we're using the spherical field, and I'm trying to look at my camera. The spherical field is 0, and it opens up, and it's it's affecting the whole bridge. So effectively, if I remove all of this, we are revealing the bridge and then moving the clones up in the 80 centimeters that we're doing in the plane, but we need them to be, to return to their original position. And that is why if I go to the spherical pulse here under the remapping on the contour mode, if I set that to curve, you can see that I have 2 curves here. So essentially I am enabling the plane effector and then disabling the plane effector as the spherical field becomes larger. And I am doing that simply, if I move my camera, I am doing that simply by creating this spline here in the contour. And then, where is it? So if I put this here, I know that I'm inner offset. Okay, so by affecting the inner offset, as you can see here in the 30, we get that effect. And obviously, if I load a preset here and maybe do like a linear preset, this is usually what you would see in your um, spherical field. But then I am telling it that the inner offset should be 30, so I am cutting off that smoothness a little bit, and then in the preset I am simply enabling this Gaussian so that it's activated and then deactivated again. Hopefully that makes sense. It probably makes more sense if you try it on your own, but this is just a pretty cool way of activating and deactivating the effect without having to use a secondary spherical field that's animated after. But that's pretty much it. That's everything that I had for the animation, and I think it's yeah, it looks pretty similar. Let me see if I can play these two at the same time. And on solo, go here. There we go. Yeah, I think they look very, very similar. I should have probably prepared like a comparison one on top of the other. But yeah, hopefully you feel the same. So that's it for the animation. I've been talking for I don't know how long. Let's start getting into the lighting. So I'm going to grab my pure ref here and let's move this maybe over here and let's make this a little bit larger. Do this and let's see. I don't have anything here, but this is set to redshift 24 frames. Okay, great. And let me make sure that I'm only using one of my GPUs. There we go. Okay, so we can get started here. All right, so let's start with, I do have a key and an HDRI. Obviously, we don't need the path here. No, here, this one, reset to default. And we're gonna enable the background. And this is just going to be our visible background. Or actually, let me see. This looks like maybe it needs to be a plane in the background. Yeah, let's try that because I do see there's a little bit of gradation there. And that's gonna be easier to do with a plane. So let me move this down here and get out of the camera. Where's my plane? Let me look here and then make it larger. I think I'm looking at the other way. And let me grab here and save frames. I'm just making this dark so I can see what I need to see. And I need to see on this end. And for now, we can disable the fields from the view so it's a little bit cleaner. There we go. And then let me make this. This is going to be our background. And then I'm going to create a material, call it background. Let's add it here to that. And let's close so I can see my nodes. Okay, the color we're gonna sample like around here. I always like to sample the darker color, as you can see. And this is a trick that I like to do whenever there's a little bit of a gradient in the background. So I'm gonna make this light called background and then only affect the background object here or the plane. And it needs to be very, very soft. So maybe we can push this back. And let me move my face to here so we can see. Push this back out. And I can see here that this needs to be either repositioned or yeah, that works. And then we're gonna grab the background light, make it fairly large. And let me save. And I'm going to use obviously GSG stuff for this. So let's wait for that to load. And what I'm after is simply a texture for my light. So let's go to HDRI, area light maps. And the one that I use all the time for stuff like this is this one. So softbox center. And of course you can use HDRI link. I really don't like to use that too much. I prefer to simply drag and drop what I need from that. Okay, so obviously this is too hot. Let me pull it down to like, yeah, 20 or so. And I'm making it bigger. So there we go. So we are getting a little bit of variation there. You can see the hot spot here, and then it gradually comes down. We do need an environment, so let's just call this HDRI. And this doesn't look to me like there's many reflections going on as far as an HDRI, so I am just going to tone this down to like 3 so that we get just a little bit of lighting there. And then we're gonna do this looks like it's maybe one light coming from, actually I can draw. This looks like it's one light coming from this angle, and then maybe some fill that it's probably coming from the HDR. So, okay, let's grab our key light, and I'm going to enable a null. Let's reset its position to the center there. And let's grab maybe play mode so that I can position this. Maybe this needs to be smaller, but increase the power. Maybe the exposure. Okay, so that's starting to look better. Let's start to add some materials so that this looks more interesting. So cube, let me grab my cube here. And I am already, if I disable, if you remember here, I'm already producing the colors from the random effector. So as you probably know, you can use user data, color user data here for that. This is only, so this is a lot of subsurface. So if I enable that to 1, we're basically overriding the diffuse color, so we can ignore that. So I'm going to connect this to the color of the subsurface scattering and delete the 0 here so that we can see that. And obviously I need to tell the user data to use the color. And you can see how we immediately start to see some of that color coming in. Let me shuffle my settings here. Instead of 1024, let's reduce this to like 200 and enable denoising. That is going to help with, or actually like 90. That is going to help with the processing here because I'm doing look dev. You can see how fast that is going, and with the denoiser, I already start to see something, and I can probably um, limit this to like 20 passes, and that's much faster, and it gives me enough to not have my GPUs constantly running, but I can see what's happening. Let me go to maybe high. Okay. And I can tell already that maybe we need, yeah, I'm going to have to update the colors there, but let's keep going. I'm going to duplicate this one, and I'm going to use it for the bridge. And the bridge is an interesting one because we have emissive materials, and I can see a little bit of, or actually, I was gonna say we can do it in the shader, or like that, those materials in the shader, or we can do them like directly in the MoGraph. Let's do it in the shader first, and maybe we can go over the other solution later. So let's grab that, and then I am already, was I using, I don't think I was using anything for the color here, was I? No. The bridge here is simple. Okay, so let's do plane effector. I'm gonna do it again here. So color, and then I'm gonna steal this random field from here, but this time I am going to um, make this gradient default, so black to white, and everything default there, and the color needs to happen first. So I gotta go here, disable, and then in my fields, add the random, and you can see how we are getting the difference there. But then we're going to, I'm just showing you different ways to do it. Um, with the yellow cube, we are controlling the color directly in the plane effector or the random field remapping. Here we are going to do it at the shader. So I'm going to plug in a ramp here and essentially remap those colors from the ramp to my purples. So let's grab this one, and then actually I believe they all look the same. Let's just do two. Just do two. So some will be a little bit darker than others. And let's see, this should be updating. Oh, of course, I need to apply this here, and you can start to see that. Okay, so my cubes are a little bit too reflective, so let's go to like 0.49 for the roughness. That's looking a little bit better. And then in the subsurface, let's reduce the scale to like zero point 0.1. Okay, 0.36, just so that we can start to see the light going in. So this is where I simply start to use random numbers. You can see how that is affecting it. I start to use random numbers until I see what I like. I'm not really like super savvy with what all of these values do. So I just um, run through the numbers until I see something that looks good. And I think we need to go higher. Maybe let's enable bucket rendering here. Give it a second. So it's definitely too reflective still. Let's tone down the reflection to like 0.4. Okay, that is looking a little bit better. I think I need to I need to make, yeah, the base color. Actually, um I think all of these look the same, right, in terms of tint. But anyways, I said I was gonna do it like this, so let's go to like 80% here and maybe 60% here, so they are darker. That's probably too dark. And let's use a color correction node. Color correction. And what do I want to do? Let's increase the level. Yeah, this should be faster. 0.5. Nope. Let's see what one does. Okay. Okay, so let's go to like 2.6. Right, that's looking a little bit better. But I think I need to keep adjusting the subsurface. So let's play with the anisotropy or whatever you call that. So I always forget. So this one looks like it's pulling the color away from the cube, and this one should be pulling it towards the corners. So let's do minus 0.26. Okay. But it does need to look like, okay, I think we need more saturation here in the color, and then maybe here as well. Saturation, whoops, 1.3 maybe. Okay, we're getting closer. Let's reduce the saturation here. Oh, where'd it go? Maybe increase the value. Okay, and let's bring this back to 0. This is how I usually go with that. This is probably why I don't like doing like um, live streams and stuff like that, because I go back and forth a lot, just because, well, you know, that is the nature of the game, I think. Okay, so I think the bevel here needs to be like, just, yeah, that looks a little bit better. And maybe not so much, but zero point 0.8. Let me get closer here so I can see what that's doing. And B, why is it still? Like, I want that to be, okay, let's maybe disable, do the fillet here. Oh no, not, yeah, I'm affecting the wrong thing, so maybe let's go back here. Well, no, this one is okay. That's what I want. Zero point 0.8. Something happened to the colors. Yikes. Where is that coming from? Interesting. Is it the saturation here? Okay, looks like it. Yeah, you see, before I, like, Redshift wasn't refreshing correctly, but look at the subsurface now. So I was adjusting values, and then the subsurface wasn't really. Let's leave this white, see what happens. And obviously the subsurface is too strong. Yeah, okay. Solo here. So this, I think it's the difference is too strong. So let's go to like 76. Let's duplicate this one here, and I just want to try to do a slight variation. Yeah, something like that. Let me save, and then on solo. Okay, 0, not 0, 1. Okay, so 1.6 maybe better. Then just for the sake of it, let's refresh. And now let's go back to like 5 in the subsurface. Okay, there we go. And then we use something like 60%. Maybe go back. Nope. 6% in the subsurface. Let's let it cook for a little bit longer, so maybe 100 passes. Okay, and then let's see how everything is looking. Definitely not looking quite there yet, but let's move on to the cube, see if we have a little bit better luck there. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use a color correct node. I'm gonna throw that here, and then this is going to go into the subsurface radius, and so that I can use the same colors but just slightly more saturated. And then on the subsurface we can do like 5. Let's see what that does. Okay, and then we can go in here, and I believe that I need to tone this down and maybe throw something that's a little bit more orange in there. Yeah. I think let's tone these two down and maybe have more orange. Not there, here. Okay. Yeah, I think that's starting to look close enough. What I'm noticing is that um, the subsurface here, like you can see, maybe let me try to grab it from here. Try to find it. It looks exactly the same as in PureRef. So I thought I wasn't getting enough resolution, but let me make this a little bit larger. So in mine, we can really see the subsurface, like feel it. And I think I definitely need to add more subdivisions there. Let me enable that here and go back to the subsurface and increase the scale. Or is it the Annie? Okay, I think let's go with like 0.5. Maybe 12. Well, that's taking like pretty much the whole color away. I'm just wondering why they are not getting like this very defined edges, and I am. Let's go into bucket mode just to make sure that it's not something that I'm. And let's go to fix scaling. And yeah, 200 is fine. Yeah, so I'm getting like, I wonder what that is. Maybe this thing has just a little bit of opacity. Let's see, 95%. No, I don't think that's what that is. I mean, it looks cool, but it's not very like super similar because um their subsurface is like very soft and mine is very apparent on the edges of the cube. So I'm wondering what that is. Is it maybe that this is a combination of let me put this here. We don't need to see the other thing. Connect this to the color. Let's try to get faster previews here. Let's go to advanced and increase this. Maybe let's increase uh, the the glow illumination to like 64, and let me try zero point 0.7 on the subsurface so that it's a combination of the diffuse and the subsurface. Hmm. Okay, so that helps with, I think this is the way to go because that helps with the very apparent edge, as you can see here. Let me save this. If I go back to full subsurface, you'll see the difference. Let me let that cook. So yeah, you can see here how the subsurface is very apparent on the edges, and just by like blending between the subsurface and a diffuse color, it still feels like the light is going through, but it's not as apparent on the edges. So I think let's continue going that route. I am going to go back here to this field and tone this down even more. Let's go to progressive rendering and maybe go to the random field and adjust the seed. So see if we can get that one cube here, down here. Come on. Come on, you just showed me the cube in the same place with two seeds. Oh, almost there. Ah, again. Come on. You're not gonna show show me the cube. Okay. I'm just gonna do this. Let's just rotate it 90 degrees in this direction. Done. Okay. Yeah, that looks pretty similar to me. Maybe, well, let's see. If I adjust and add another one here, that's maybe like not that 80% darker. Okay. So we have just a little bit of couple darker cubes. Let's go to like 90%. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. That looks fairly similar to me. Obviously, we're not gonna get 100% accurate, so that looks good to me. We're still getting the edges with a lot of subsurface, so maybe it's a matter. Oh, this one back to okay. I need to keep this at like 0.7. What happens if I increase the subsurface there and reduce this to like 0.5? I'm just seeing more like transparency here. So point, let's see what happens if I go to like 12 and bucket render. Get a little bit of water. Okay, the problem is that it looks a little bit more transparent, yes, but we are losing pretty much all of the color. Just gonna try to get it as close as possible. And maybe increase the saturation on the radius of the subsurface. Okay, I like that. Maybe let's just tone that down, and on the level, maybe let's go to 2 so it's a little bit more bright. Okay, I think let's go back to like 4 on the scale of the subsurface, which the way that I understand it is how much we're letting the light go through. And maybe my fillet radius here needs to be softer because it looks very tight. Yeah, I think that helps. Yeah, that definitely helps. So the fillet in my cube um is a little bit was a little bit too tight. So let's do the same here to like 3 and then increase subdivisions to like 3. So it's a softer edge, and I think that also helps with the subsurface. So I'm wondering now what happens if I bring this back to 1 and maybe roll it back to 2, how it was. Okay, and I haven't addressed the roughness here, so let's go to like, well, 5.6, 0.56 is what I'm after. And maybe to make this go faster, let's do brute force and brute force so that it doesn't think too much, just starts rendering. Okay, so this is definitely the way. I'm just going to dial back the subsurface to 0.7 and maybe let the light go through a little bit more. Increase the samples to 128 and let's let it cook to see. The cubes in their sample are packed a little bit tighter than in mine. So let's see. I think the gap here is 2. So um, let's do 50, 50, 50, and um, maybe let's split the difference to 1.6. See if that feels, because I'm seeing a lot of gap here, whereas here I'm not really seeing that. Yeah, I think let's go with 2, and let's go with zero point 0.1 here for the sampling. See if we can get it to go faster. Okay, I think that looks pretty similar. So the last thing that I'm gonna do before going back to the bridge is come back um, to the random field here. I'm going to undock a copy so that I can see this better. And here's a trick in case you don't know. On any gradients in Cinema 4D, you can hover over with your mouse, and I believe it's Control and Scroll wheel, and that allows you to zoom in, and then middle mouse click to navigate. So that allows you to zoom into your handles in the gradient. Though these are not called handles, your knots in the gradient. So what I'm after is this one. I think it needs to be a little bit more yellow. So let's see. So that should be this one here. That's better. A little bit more saturated for sure. Okay. That's good. So let's move back to my bridge, and just to make things a little bit simpler, right? I'm going to duplicate this cube again, call it bridge, and I'm going to hold Alt and drag over the old material so that I can replace it. Of course, that's going to break because we're using the color user data here. We need to add a ramp into here. So connect to the alt and then connect all of these back. There we go. And we need to, let's do the coloring again. I should have saved it, but whatever. Interpolation step. We're gonna do, let's sample like this purple here. And then this one, instead of 80% in the value, let's go to like 89, just so that it is slightly slightly brighter. And let's just start getting the emissive ones here. I think I almost never like to use incandescent, so let's just try with a standard material, and we're gonna use a material blender into the surface, and let's call this purple. Let's call this emissive, and let's see. I maybe we should use an incandescent, but let's see what happens. Maybe get a little more space since all we're doing here is nodes. Okay, and then we need another color user data, or actually maybe we can use a different user data. I think oh yeah, color user data, and then instead of MoGraph color index ratio, no, that's not gonna work. Let's use the same MoGraph color, and then we are going to adjust that to only get a few emissive materials. So I'm going to connect that to the alt, and then in the ramp, let's just crunch this down, because we only really want to see a few. And I don't know if I'm going to get the same exact. Um, let's zoom in here, and this allows me to just go in and like really pack this tight. And actually, I don't need this to be smooth in the interpolation, so maybe um making it, yeah, okay. We can definitely come here into the color random field and try a different seed to see. Okay, that gives me one down here. Maybe it needs to be packed tighter, so um let's go, and actually we can do it here in the random. Let's pack this like so. We could also use two random fields. Let's do that just for practice. So call so color base purple, and then we are going to duplicate this color material blender, right? And I believe we can tell it to use this one. How how are we going to do that? Objects. Oh, so what happens if I use geometry ID color? Nope. Graph color. Can I tell it? Can I drag this in here? I can, but it doesn't. I've never tried this before, so bear with me. I need to add this in here. Okay, so this is definitely working. Base purple here, but I don't think graph color. sure there's an easier way to do this. Let's see what the integer user data gives me. Object ID. No. Scalar. Clone offset, time offset. Okay. Let's not do this like that. So we can see this. And what if instead I use a noise? Not that, max on noise. So I can control the seed separately from the other one. It's what I'm after. This is gonna apply it to everything. Okay. I think we just have to keep using this. And then come back here. Field. Let's use this as the blend color. Let's see what that gives me. Actually, does the incandescent give me temperature control? Yeah, I think I'm just gonna use an incandescent because the light there is like easier to control here with the temperature. 4800 temperature. And I'm noticing here that the emission power is also being controlled by something else there. So let's go to lights. Let me bring this back to like 0.56. That helps a little bit. And so the intensity multiplier, I need to. So this is where it's getting a little bit complicated because how can I apply different fields to control that? Hmm. And I think go back here, maybe 3. I think this is too bright in the scale. 7. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think this key light needs to be maybe a little bit bigger so that we get softer shadows, and then tone this down like so. And maybe let's grab another area light and we'll call this fill. Let me disable this real quick. And we're going to look through this bug with cinema. I don't know. Sometimes I can't like move the cameras or anything properly. Like, I don't know why. Let's add this target to here and then let's increase this heavily. But tone this down to like 2% or so. So we're getting a little bit of feel, but this way I'm able to control it a little bit more. Um, the key light, it's too bright, maybe? No, I think it needs to be pointed. Yeah, reduce the shadow there just a little bit, maybe tone it down. And go back here to the purple. Is this maybe letting too much light in? Or maybe this one needs to be more subsurfacey. And then let's reduce the scale here so that we can make them darker. Go to my camera and enable the tone mapping here. Then scroll wheel here so that it refreshes. And I think the bevel here needs to be a little bit tighter because the cubes are smaller. And maybe let's reduce the weight of the reflection. Okay, I can definitely feel the subsurface here, but the saturation is not there. This needs to be more purple, okay? Maybe 1.5 is too much, 1.26. Okay, we're getting close. My shadow is too harsh. So I'm wondering if I have to help it this way. This bottom part needs to be more in the shade, so that's what I'm trying to get. And bokeh, we need bokeh. I don't know if it's a good idea to enable it, but I don't want this video to be 4 hours long. So let's use this element as the focus and decrease my aperture. 1.2. Okay. That's helping here. So now we're getting all of that there. Let me see in the animation again. Okay, so the good news is that the emissive cubes, are not being enabled by the animation. Like you can see, the power of this one here stays the same throughout. So that's good news, right? That makes it a little bit easier. We need to use this, and then maybe let's reuse this ramp in well, I'm not gonna be able to do that. Let's change range so that I can input this here and then change range into the intensity multiplier. If I make this 0, we're going to turn them off. But instead, this, let's change the interpolation of this ramp into a smooth. So we go from 1.2, which is the like fully on, to not 0 but 0.7 maybe. But I gotta find a way to limit this even more. So I definitely don't want to see it here. And what was I using before? I was looking 2.6. Intensity multiplier. Let's make the range max 2.6 so that it is bright. And then in my camera, lens effects, bloom. When I enable the bloom, and the threshold, there we go. Softness 25%, and then increase the threshold so that only my brightest pixels are caught by the bloom. And then let's see if I can get it closer with like a little bit of color correction. Maybe increase the contrast. Let's add like an S curve to, what is it? Yeah, pull the shadows. And I believe that there might be a little bit of a texture on the frosted glass there, or not the frosted glass, but the subsurface. My cubes are still looking very like unsaturated, maybe gamma. 2.2. No, this is not the way. Or okay, more saturation. Saturation. 50% saturation. That's too much. Saturation 42. Come on. So we were going from 28%. Let's round it to 30, 36. 30 and 36. 89. What is it? Duplicate. Okay, so 30, 85. A little bit darker. I think that's looking good. The only thing that's bothering me is obviously how many emissive ones we have. Trying to think how I can control that. I already have this. Let's see. Maybe I can. Okay. And then I will have to come here and find a different seed. See if I can get something that shows like in the reference there. But I wish I could do tone this back. Okay. I think maybe that's a good compromise, like a good enough. I do like how this is looking here, but I feel like this is more manual than. I don't want to overcomplicate it, so I feel like maybe that is good enough. Let's see something crazy like 16. Okay, so I think the base input, let's use another color correct into the color and into the color surface. This needs to be darker. Yeah, so I am seeing here that obviously in the edges on the bridge, we do feel more of that subsurface. So instead of going 16, let's go to like 4. See if I can get that to be more on the edges. Maybe 4 was too much. 8. Go the other way or this way. 0.65, 0.3. Okay, and then adjust this here to like 0.98. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks good, right? Maybe let's grab a frame where the bridge is still resolving. Make sure that I have, I'm gonna pause this here. Disable this decay that I know I was not using. And let's do a MoGraph cache. Let's bake it so that I can scrub my timeline. Hide and look through here. Let's do bcam and then bcam. We're going to, I'm gonna try to match this here. This is the bug. I reported this bug, but I use 1, 2, and 3 to navigate, and 1 works, 3 works, but sometimes, oops, sometimes my zoom in and out. Yeah, it started working now, but it wasn't working just now. Whatever. Let's do like here. I think that's a good enough frame to compare. Mm. Scroll down to bcam. Mm-hmm. I'm still not convinced about my purples here. Let's go to bcam and maybe increase the exposure. Maybe 0.8, 0.56. And there's something about these cubes that you can see how my subsurface is looking here. So I'm wondering, does it need to be like super high, like 20? Maybe that's what it is, so that a lot of light comes in. The emission looks good to me. The shadow needs to be softer. So let's see what else I can do about that. So my shadow needs to be softer. That means that my key light needs to be, maybe that's what it is. My key light, it's too small. So it's 300 right now. Let's double it. Of course, that's gonna break everything. Bring this back down. And now I'm feeling like you can see the shadow here, but on mine is a little bit less apparent because my fill light is too strong. Maybe this has like a top soft key, and we're gonna grab a softbox edge, and let's just throw it on the fill light as well. Try to soften all of that, and then for the top, I'm going to reset the coordinates and then throw that here so that basically this acts as another fill light to make my shadows softer. Let's go to 0. Let's go to 1. So that helps. You can see there how if I disable this, if I disable that, you can see how hard my shadow is. But just keeping that at 1, takes care of that. And I think that's it. Maybe my contrast here is too hard. And let's see if I can lift the shadows a little bit more. Not that much. How do I? Okay. Just want to start over. I think that looks pretty good to me. And it feels like there's probably, how do I write here again? Canvas mode. Okay, draw. So it feels like there's another light here that's filling in this darkness. So let me duplicate my fill light, bring it this way, maybe make it smaller, just so I can fill in the light a little bit more there. Yeah, that helps a little bit. And then I'm going to, this is going to be fill to target. I think we're almost done. Fill to. And then you are going to look here. We're going to move the target closer to the beginning. And let's grab this here so that I can get a little bit more fill light here. You can see how that is helping, whereas before without that, we're getting a lot of darkness down here. I feel like I need to do something like that too for the bottom. So let's do that. This is going to be fill 3. Fill 3. Replace that there. It's already replaced. And move this target over here. And then fill. Let's move it on the bottom there. Let's zero out, and just so I can have it completely looking up. And this has to be a super soft light. So let's do that. Sometimes I also like to adjust the color here to like 80% and maybe See what this is doing. So that's giving me too much light. Something like that. And tone it back down to like 1. Or maybe not, because that's what that's doing is producing an edge here. So maybe we don't need that fill light. Uh, there's a lot more. I'm definitely not building these cubes the same, because these cubes here have like a lot more light, and look at mine here. Let me go to like 100. Yeah, look at mine here. Like the top is looking okay, but I doubt that is there like a light right there? I don't know. I don't know that it would be like this, but we're just trying to practice this style frame thing. So let's do that. And -3, -1. Kind of helps. I don't know. Let's go with original size and 100% there. So a little bucket render and check. I don't even know how long I've been recording. Hour and a half. So I think, yeah, I think we're gonna call it soon. Is this done rendering? Let's go with the little bit more contrast. And I think this light, this filtery light, is too strong. Do one more shadow there. Sometimes with subsurface, it's hard to see. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. I mean, it's not identical, but I think it's pretty close. And I don't want to make this a super long video. I think it's been long enough already. Sometimes with subsurface, you do have to do bucket renders just to make sure that everything is working as expected. Let's do the trick here, 0.7. See if that helps. I think that helps. And maybe let's do like 50. I don't know. Let's see what that does. I'm actually not sure. 10. Maybe this is a better balance. But this just looks so like translucent. And I don't know what could be causing that. Mm, let's go with minus -0.3. No, that makes it worse. 2 in the anisotropy. That okay. 0. So we need to let more light in. Let's go to 0.9. Let me see if I can use some of my brain. So these cubes are 30 centimeters, and we're only letting 10% of that light in. And this looks like it's going almost all the way. So I wonder what happens if I do like 40 centimeters. Mm, I don't know, man. 100. Okay, let's go with 25, and then let's bring this back to point 0.3 as it was. Uh, shit. It's really here. Um, let's, maybe I need to include the bridge here only and increase the scattering passes here. Contribution. Okay, I think that helps. I rarely ever do this, but 1.8. And then the bottom clones have a lot more saturation. So I'm wondering if I have to pull the saturation up. Not that much. 1.3. Is this not working? Because I'm seeing all of the. Maybe this needs to be more. 0.1. Let's see. That's not it, right? Nope. What if I bring this down? Okay, this is working. Just feel like, come on. Maybe 4,000. So the cubes in the main cube are 50 centimeters, and I'm only letting the light in for 2. Let's go with like 30 and see what that does. No, but I think that was looking fine. Maybe let's just do 5. Leave it. Let it be. Let it be. But the lights in the bridge. Why is this not? So I'm using my color user data into this ramp and this ramp. I'm using the color here. -1. Why does 0? This is gonna turn them off. Okay. 10. Nope. 1. Why don't you work? Shit. I have to plug this in directly. No. I mean, this is already looking like it's doing something. Okay. Probably doing something wrong with the values. Let's go with This is not really taking my range. It's just applying the same intensity to all of them. I wonder if I'm doing something wrong. But I mean, the range is here. Okay, maybe that will help increase this to 5. God damn it. Maybe this needs to be interpolation step. And then let's do 30% here. This should be so straightforward. I don't know why it isn't. Or maybe I'm just getting the values here for some reason. That's the thing. This should be applying smooth interpolation so that I have that range. Point 1, 0. That's going to turn it off. Point 1. Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure what's happening here. This should be giving me, is it this ramp? Yeah, but even here I should be seeing, okay, that is showing me. So if I move this here, okay, so that gives me more. Okay, so that means that maybe I need to, this is the one that needs to be smooth. It looks like it. Not sure. Let's zoom in. That's definitely helping, but now I'm seeing more of the emissive ones, and I need to see less. Let's go back. Uh, yeah, this is looking a little bit better. Um, Yeah, let's just leave it there. I think I'm just gonna leave it there. Let me render here, and I think I'm going to increase this to point 0, yeah, 0.01 default with a little bit of denoising. And yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it as is. Maybe I'll render the animation for the promo. But yeah, this is a very long video, almost 2 hours. I don't know if you guys like that kind of content, super long. But yeah, hopefully there's some things that you can learn from this video, watching me problem solve and how I can attack something like this. Um, yeah, I don't know. Let's increase this to like 65. That helps a little bit. Maybe more saturation, 2%. Let's do 12% saturation. And yeah, I'm not convinced about the subsurface. The subsurface here still feels like it's letting a lot more light in. But yeah, I don't want to keep tweaking it. I think for an exercise, we got pretty close, and it actually looks cool. So yeah, I'm a little bit bummed about the emissive ones. But yeah, I don't want to make this super ultra long. All right, I'm gonna cut it here and I'll render the animation. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. And yeah, as always, leave any comments, questions, feedback here on the video, and I always look at those and take those into account. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.